Hey guys, Owen from Team Soulforge here, and this is a video discussion on netdecking. Yes, it is a kind of it's a touchy subject, I know. But I'm just gonna. There's a stigma about it. You are a bad player if you netdeck, or netdecking is a bad thing. But I'm actually here to see if to try and change your minds. So this is my personal opinion on the definition of netdecking. It is where people actually get a deck online, whether it be through a YouTube video, a blog post, or something like that, and they will take the deck card for card off the net, hence the term Netdeck. There are a lot of misconceptions about this. Like I said, there are quite a lot of people in every TCG community that state that if you netdeck, you are a bad player, or only bad players netdeck, or stuff like that. This is, to be honest, a falsehood. Netdecking, to all the people who actually use it, is a tool. Most people that actually use netdecking, it is a tool for deck building, or learning about a certain aspect, usually how to beat or play a clan in Vanguard. There have been many instances through the time in Vanguard where you have had netdecks basically turning. The netdeck is a bad way of actually saying a meta deck, because the netdecks can either be game defining, such as Ichi Tom or ZTB, or even Luard. Or every single one of those has been used by a lot of people. Going back into Yu-Gi-Oh!, another game I actually play, there were formats based around the so-called netdecking. The most iconic were the Dragon Ruler, Goat format, Dragon Ruler, Goat Control, and Teledad formats. Every single player in the top cut was playing one of those decks in their respective formats. But going back to Vanguard, it's annoying to think that people will berate you for playing the same deck as someone who's top. It's like, oh, you're a bad player. You're just using their deck to win. But it's not. There are people who just do that. The sheep, as they're known as, the meta sheep, as they're known as, they will go from deck to deck to deck, like following the meta, just using a deck that's only there because it's good. But not everyone is like that. Even I have netdecked. I've taken my premium and standard builds from a place online, made a few tweaks, but yes, it's still a netdeck. It is definitely something that I've done, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It is a really good thing to do. If you want to learn about a deck, you netdeck. If you want to learn how to go against it, netdeck. If you want to play a deck because it's successful, you want to learn why it's successful, that's why you netdeck. You use it to give yourself knowledge, or you learn how to beat it by playing it yourself. And to be honest, there is a flip side to this, which is homebrews. Now, just think, every single deck that you see people netdecking was originally a homebrew. Someone has seen a combination of cards and gone, okay, well, if this does one thing, this does another, I can combine those to actually help me win. The best example of this that I can personally think of right now is Ichi Tom. Oracle Think Tank was huge. It still is a big player in the tournament standings because of Ichi Tom. There is Ichikishima, which stops one type of guarding. Tom stops another. That creates basically a guarding lock. It stops guarding completely, so these hits can go through. I witnessed a really good play that's obviously not a net deck, but it was a really decent play in one of my Great Nature games during Premium. It was a big belly, which had a combination where I couldn't guard at all. The Zoa Antlion combo is another one that theoretically has been net decked because there are so many decks around that actually that have the Antlion combo. I mean, going through, like I said, Ichi Tom and ZTBs, they were huge. People think the reboot was because of ZTBs. And I will agree to that because everyone was playing it. It ended up being it was nicknamed Gear Cancer because it was everywhere. And it was not because it was bad players. It was a really good deck, and a lot of people saw that, which means they actually decided to play it themselves. And I mean, on the flip side, even I've come across people who have net decked. The Gear Chronicle guy that I played, I went through his deck, main and side, and I noticed it was a deck that I'd seen card for card online, and obviously it wasn't his creation. He didn't play it well because he didn't know it that well. He didn't know that deck, and he didn't know how to run it properly. And that's where most of the stigma comes from. The people that take the deck and they don't know how to play it. And going on to the flip side of his homebrews, you're also called a bad player if you homebrew, which is really unfortunate. I mean, just because you run a deck that isn't the norm, isn't the meta way of playing it, you're a bad player. A prime example of this is Connor. Recently, he's from ever since I've known him, every time he's built a new Royal Paladin deck, he's started off and if he's running blasters in it, obviously he's running blasters in it. So with his premium decks, he'll take in 2 or 3 copies of Starcall Trumpeter, and we went to the tournament for the local. For the Homebrew series, and this one of his opponents saw Starcall and actually called him out on it, saying she was a bad card. It's not a good card. And as a prime example of this, he ran it in blasters to a perfect degree. Just for the cost of two cards if it's called out, or 3 cards when you call it from hand. It's 3 cards. 3 cards can put out almost a full board, because you bring out Starcall, you counterblast 2, call it out, blast the LaRousse, blast the Javelin LaRousse. Uses LaRousse's skill, put 2 cards from your hand into your soul, and call out 2 high beasts, one of which being Patgar. When Patgar comes out, you soul blast 2 and you countercharge 2. That is 4 units on board just for the price of 2 cards in your hand. Because Patgar makes Starcall completely free. And people were saying it's a bad card until recently, where someone in Japan topped with Royal Paladin and they used Starcall. Which, when there happened a buyout on Starcall Trumpeter, and people were asking Connor for his Starcalls, and he's constantly been saying it's a good card, and people have not been believing him because he's not been a big player. He hasn't been able to top recently. So people haven't been seeing him as a good player and haven't seen Starcall as a good card until someone just happens to top with it. I mean, that is the definition. I mean, just to take one person, and now Starcall is a meta choice. It's a Netdeck choice, not a homebrew. People are going to Netdeck and put in Starcall because they've seen someone play a deck and seen a deck that includes Starcall. It's unfair to the player. It's unfair to the person playing however they play to use this as an insult, calling them a bad player. There are people who are bad players, yes. But they're not bad players because, to be honest, I personally think there's no such thing as a bad player. It's just a wrong choice of clan. That's the one thing that I will always say. There's no such thing as a bad player. You could be bad at building. That's why you go for a net deck. I mean, I'm learning like the true nature of a homebrew, as you can see with the BCS homebrew series. But there's nothing that says that I'm a bad player because I'm net decking, or because I have net decked, or because I'm homebrewing. And it's really unfair to just call someone a bad player because they do either one of these things. So on that note, I will leave it here. Please feel free to discuss this in the description. Are you a net decker? Are you a person who likes to homebrew? Let me know. So with all that being said, I will see you guys in another video. Bye.